Welcome to Impactful. Today we will speak about learning and using AI in newsrooms. Our guest is Mattia Peretti. Welcome, Mattia.
Thank you for the invite, Branislava. Very happy to be here and have this conversation.
We will talk about your career and important projects, but let's start from the beginning. How did you first get involved in the AI and journalism?
The answer to this question is always very overwhelming, to be honest, because it was a bit of a coincidence, I have to say. So my relationship with AI started back in 2019, where I was invited to join the Journalism AI project when it was in its infancy at the beginning and actually help create it at the London School of Economics. And until then, I didn't have a specific interest nor background in AI or computational journalism. I was working at the European Journalism Center in the Netherlands, working on journalism innovation, but from the point of view of organizing trainings for people in journalism and events as well, and other networking opportunities, let's say. So I was a project manager, let's say. And when Journalism AI was about to be created by Professor Charlie Beckett at the London School of Economics with the partnership of the Google News Initiative, it was meant to be a very small one-year research project. So they literally just needed one person to manage it and make it happen. And that's when I was leaving my previous job. I already decided that. And so the timing was perfect. And I was offered this opportunity. And I had no idea that it would have become my career for the next 6 years to focus on this topic. So it's been a very fortunate coincidence, I have to say. And obviously, it gave me the opportunity to learn a lot and meet loads of smart people over the last few years before the generative AI wave made all of us paying attention to this topic.
You prepared different courses regarding AI literacy, and I attended one. It was a great experience, but what was so important is the community you built.
Yeah, so, well, I'm very glad, first of all, to hear about your experience taking the course and that you still remember it as a positive experience. We're talking about Journalism AI Discovery, which in a way is the last thing I have done at Journalism AI before leaving the project a bit more than 1 year ago. And I'm really proud of that course because it's something I've been thinking of creating for a while. During the years at Journalism AI, I already had the opportunity of designing and creating training materials on the topic for journalists, like mini courses on the Google News Initiative Training Center that back in 2020 were like introducing the concept of machine learning and what it meant to use it and for what use cases. And also then the training program instead that became the Journalism AI Academy for small newsrooms that is still ongoing. But with Discovery, what we really wanted to do was scale the value of these initiatives by bringing together in one single place like 4 years of knowledge of the project and what we had learned along the way in bite-sized content experiences through email delivery. So Journalism AI Discovery, as you know, was the email course. I don't even remember if the modules and therefore the emails were like 6 or 8, but really something that people and journalists could just receive in the comfort of their email, on the comfort of their inbox, and consume at their pace, but also, as you say, with a community of other people taking the course together. Now, I don't remember the numbers exactly as they were, but I believe in that first cohort there were already hundreds, if not 1,000, of journalists taking the course at the same time, which meant that it was not an individual experience of just reading your content and being on your own, but that you could, as you were saying, interface with others as they were going through the same process. And I think what was special for me about it was seeing that Slack channel where these conversations happening and how global it was, of course, because hundreds of journalists from every continent. I don't even remember how many countries, but I think there were around 70 or something like that. And I think that's a very important element because, as we know, AI has wide-ranging impact on societies, but has also different impacts in different parts of the world because of cultural differences, because of language barrier, because of bias and what bias means in practice for different segments of the world population. So I think going through that experience together with others and just learning from them as well, what were their priorities, what type of innovation was happening in different parts of the world, which we have seen again and again being one of the most fascinating insights we learn from Journalism AI. So yeah, discovery is something that I am very proud of, and I believe it's still ongoing. And it was a team effort, of course.
If journalists want to learn more about AI, where should they start? What should be their first steps?
I think that's a very, very hard question in general, because the answers could be many different ones. I believe it needs to be a conscious effort that should start with different elements at the same time. So I think it's important for everyone working in journalism not to become experts about how to use AI, but it's really important for everyone to feel the responsibility that we need to understand what these technologies are able to do, what are their limitations and the risks of using them in the certain ways, and what opportunities existed that we should make the most of to be able to prioritize. That's a necessary step. But I also generally think it's important to just try things out, especially now with generative AI, everything being so accessible. We can also, all of us can just open the browser and try out Gemini or ChatGPT or Perplexity or everything else to get direct experience of what it means, to get generally excited about the potential and how cool it is to just get an interface that gives you answers, but also being acutely aware of how those answers are produced and what could be wrong in them that we cannot trust blindly. I still think there's a lot of work that as an industry, as journalists, we can do much better in understanding this ourselves, so then we can help everyone in society understand it. Because I'm sure that all of us still have many people in our lives who think that ChatGPT is just, giving you answers and looking answers up in the internet and just giving you proper answers, which is not how it works. And, dangerous situations may arise if we're not aware of that.
Possibilities for using AI are endless, but we always emphasize its responsible usage.
It has incredible potential and incredible risks and limitations at the same time, and really trying to understand how it can help us and going beyond the obvious, let's say, which is my personal frustration, let's say, at the time when we talk about journalism implementation. It's been more than 1 year and it still feels like we're just not only going for the low-hanging fruit of just, okay, how we can use generative AI to make our work more efficient, more productive, churning out more content, which I'm not saying are bad things in themselves. Maybe wanting to put out more content is actually a bad thing, but that's a separate conversation. I think it's just nothing bad with these things. They're just not enough. So I think we are really missing an opportunity if we don't spend more time figuring out how we can use these technologies to actually deliver on our missions, which is informing societies better, engaging more users, stop talking about news avoidance and putting therefore the onus on people that they are avoiding us. It's not the point. It's us failing at providing them with content that is relevant for them and that therefore they can feel like they want to engage with. And I genuinely believe that AI does bring us opportunities if we are aware of this, if we are aware of what is the focus and we are strategic and clear about that. I think, if we just continue looking for efficiencies, that's good. It's going to keep us going for a little longer, but it's not going to have any fundamental impact on our industry, which, we like to say it's in crisis, and it's been in crisis for 15, 20 years.
We have to mention an important milestone in your career. You're an ICFJ Knight Fellow.
Well, this fellowship that I started in January is a blessing in many ways. So the decision of becoming a fellow was very easy. I was offered the opportunity of becoming a fellow, and it immediately looked like something I could not say no to. ICFJ, which stands for the International Center for Journalists, they have been running their fellowship for, I honestly don't know how many years, but it's nothing new. It's been going on for a while, and it's quite humbling to have joined a cohort of fellows from all across the world who have been doing incredible work for the industry over many years. And they reached out to me knowing my focus on work on AI in journalism. And the beauty of this fellowship is that you are not tied to any outcome that you have to agree upfront. So the fellowship gave me an opportunity to take this idea, which is pretty much what I was describing in my previous answer of figuring out what are the opportunities to use AI to better inform our communities rather than only to make our work more efficient. And really take this idea and start to explore it and see what I could do about it. It's never, a problem that over a 1-year fellowship you're going to solve. Nobody's that crazy or insanely ambitious about it, but it's just figuring out what can I bring what could be my contribution to the industry, moving us in a direction that I think could be healthier for all of us in terms of the way we use AI. And now that I've been into the fellowship, it's been an interesting journey because I feel like sometimes I feel like my opinions almost radicalized more and more. And I like to think I built on that frustration that I was describing before to go even further and really make my fellowship not anymore about AI, but really trying to turn my focus on what are these like new solutions that we need to build, not incremental improvements on what we do, but really rethinking what we do in journalism to better engage users by putting always the user at the center of it. I talk about extreme user centricity are the approach that I want to explore, and really focusing on this and putting AI aside for a second so that a strategy can be laid out that brings us in the direction and in the mindset space that I think we need to embrace. Because I do believe that the moment we do that process well, AI has a role to play and help us. But I think I was making a mistake myself by starting my fellowship trying to figure out how can we use AI for. Because I was not exploring a problem, I was already putting AI as a solution into the problem before even considering whether AI is or not the part of the solution. And so I needed to spend, I realized, more time in the problem space, figuring out what really I think is important for us as an industry to focus on. And I do want to believe that once that work is done, or at least is in the right direction, AI can be brought back into the picture to bring its contribution, but only to the goals we want to achieve, not by considering AI as a goal in itself.
When and why did you decide to choose that topic?
I spent the first 6 weeks of my fellowship, reading and studying a lot, as trivial as it sounds, for what people were saying, like resources, like the reports of the Reuters Institute, of course, that are out every year talking about, both our news consumption and how the creation on our side evolves over time, but also just talking with people that I believe in their own way, they're already going in the right direction. They're already making their contribution to bring the industry where I think we should go, to then be able to understand or try to explore. I'm in the process of it. I'm definitely not done. I'm just starting, understand what could happen, what good can come if we bring together these people and what they're doing and trying to multiply in a way the value of the work they do and to bring it to be bigger than the sum of its parts, I think is the saying in English. Overall, though, I think, stepping back, understanding the problems that the industry have is something that I have been building over my 10-year career so far. And there are definitely so many data points across those 10 years that could contribute to the solution. Luckily, because I think it's better this way, I didn't wake up the 1st of January of this year realizing there was a problem and trying to figure out what that was. It's like a long time of digesting what's good, what's bad about our industry, and trying to figure it out in a way what I think I can contribute with my skills and the expertise I build, and also very honestly, what I'm passionate about. I am a strong believer that we do a much better job when we're working on something we're generally excited about. So there is that element of selfishness as well, of taking and using this opportunity that the fellowship is giving me to deliver value, hopefully, to the industry, but also to myself.
Recently, you wrote an article emphasizing why before how when we talk about AI implementation. You invited colleagues to reach out if the topic resonated with them. Were you satisfied with the response?
Yeah, exactly. And I've been very humbled by the responses. I got so many, I stopped counting them via emails or I posted this article you're describing on LinkedIn. And so also a lot of comments and messages there. I feel like I biased the process a little bit by the fact that in my article, I was asking if this resonates with you, get in touch and tell me what are your thoughts. So I wasn't necessarily inviting a criticism to it, although maybe I should have also added a line. If you disagree with me, also get in touch and let me know. I heard of a lot of people who share some of the frustrations that I was highlighting and shared this conviction or this vision that focusing much more on the users and really seeing what we can do for them better, listen to them more. could be beneficial for the industry. I'm not saying anything new, and I think that's really, really important to say. Like, it's not a new idea that sadly I came up and nobody is talking about. There is a lot of great work done on user needs that a lot of news organizations have been embracing, and yet it seems like there is something missing. There are still some barriers that are not helping us or making it harder to turn this knowledge into action sometimes, or even just not turning it into action, but turning it into, let's say, strategic action, because there are a lot of good initiatives. And yet it seems if we keep digging back into the way we do things, we still start from the habits of how journalism has been done for decades. And I think that's the route that we need to find a way to go to. I got some feedback of the article that was positive, but also in a sense, some people politely saying, this is all true, but we kind of knew it already. Like, this is not new, which again, I agree. It's the same I'm saying. And yet it doesn't seem like we're doing enough in that direction. So maybe this is the area we need to explore. And I do believe strongly that is not something that one of us will figure it out in their own office. That's why I so strongly believe in collaboration and in bringing people together, because I think by bringing together the sentiments and the expertise of many people who are already doing incredibly smart work in this industry, we can make a push. I'm working on designing a couple of meetings with a small group of people right now, and I'm having the help of a fantastic designer facilitator who's working with me. And she brought to my attention this very nice metaphor of a flying wheel, like a big, heavy wheel that you want to push to start rolling it on the street. And at the beginning, it's incredibly hard to make change happen. Like, at the beginning, you're pushing it and nothing is happening. It's not moving. And then slowly you start making, and painfully making, a little progress. And as it starts moving, continuing to move becomes easier, because the hard part was the initial push. And I think that's where I want to continue spending this year, if I can use this metaphor, figuring out how can we give this push that will sustain itself and not just be another moment of reckoning, or like, oh yeah, we need to do things differently and we all agree, but then the wheel doesn't actually move.
You work a lot on connecting people. Your idea was to create a directory of AI consultants and trainers worldwide with ICFJ and Journalism AI.
At the beginning of the year, I was receiving lots of requests from both news organizations and media development organizations. They were asking me if I was available to work with them, to support with, training programs they were building, or indeed AI implementation in the newsroom. Loads of interesting opportunities, but with a fellowship to deal with, I had to say no to many of them. And of course, every time I was saying no, I was trying to think, I should help them find someone else that can help them instead of me. And so I literally just shared this on LinkedIn, asking people, I'm thinking that maybe I want to create a little list of other consultants, other trainers who could help organizations when they reach out to me. And clearly I was onto something, because dozens of people, including yourself, replied very kindly to that message, and saying that you were indeed interested and available in helping organizations, which led me to think, okay, the idea is good. Let's create this list. But also, this thing is getting bigger than I thought. So maybe I shouldn't do it alone if I want to have time, for my fellowship. And so I reached out back to my former colleagues at Journalism AI, since they seemed to me the best place and the best partnership to make this happen. And they were very kind and enthusiastic in deciding to do this together. And so with their support, we put together a form that anyone could fill in to share their details. And now through that form, we created a public directory, which is available on the Journalism AI website, which, if it hasn't changed, should still be at journalismai.info. So check it out there with all their incredible resources. And yeah, the directory now has, I don't know, I didn't check in the last couple of days. So probably we're at 80 or 90 names of consultants and trainers from all across the world with different types of expertise that can help your news organization or anyone else in the media space with your AI needs, being training for AI literacy within your team, or helping you with specific implementation challenges you're going through.
Everything is changing day by day, so we have to learn a lot. Could you give us general advice in the journalism field?
I think in a way is to take the approach that I was suggesting in terms of AI, and not thinking of it as the solution or something that is a value in itself, but rather considering it in the context of why do you want to work in journalism in the first place. So I would take it a step back, and I think some journalism schools, although not all of them probably, are already starting to realize and are already implementing this over the last few years, that working in journalism today does not necessarily mean being a journalist. If we walk inside a newsroom, editorial is a department, but there are engineers, there are developers, there are product managers, and we should have more of them because product mindset is critically important. User research, audience experience, design, all of these roles contribute to the mission of journalism in a fundamental way that is as valuable as the writers that write the article, or the people on that appear on camera, on video, and so on. And so I think that would be my main suggestion for anyone who wants to work in journalism, because like me, like you, believe that journalism is important, has a role to play in society, is to not fall anymore into thinking that being a journalist means becoming a good writer. Being a journalist, as in working in journalism, can mean a lot of different things. And I do actually believe that newsrooms need many more of all the other profiles that we have been describing. Even more if you can bring a mix of all these things. So maybe not necessarily just being the best expert at one thing, but being able to bring a combination of these things. We went through a phase, now not much anymore, where we talked, rightly so, a lot about the importance of bridge roles in news organizations. So people who can indeed act as a bridge. Sometimes it's hard for the engineers and the design team and the editorial colleagues to speak the same language, to collaborate together. You need these type of people who can bridge departments and really kind of take everyone along the journey. And so that, I guess, would be my suggestion. AI is a part of it, but again, I do not think that the recommendation I want to give to anyone trying to make it into journalism right now is to become an AI expert. Yes, do your homework, understand it, as we were saying at the beginning, trying it out. If you want to become an expert because that's actually your passion and you want to do more, amazing. That's not a requirement that I think I would recommend anyone to focus too much on.
We already covered this, but the last question for today: what will shape the future of AI?
I feel like the most important bit is to really try to get creative about this and not do the same mistakes, but even not trying to figure out the same problems. I think we need to be much more collaborative. We need to look much more at existing solutions or what people have experimented or tried out, even if they didn't get to build a solution. I was looking back at the projects that were developed during the Journalism AI Collab in 2020, which was our first experiment at the time with getting people from different organizations to work together on a project for a few months. Now that program has become the Journalism AI Fellowship, which is, I think, in its 5th year. And looking at those 4 projects, some of the challenges that we're working on was how can we use AI-powered summaries to better inform our readers? How can we use AI to make the most of our archives? How can we use machine learning to build loyalty into our readers? That's 2020, and still it sounds like the same problems we're trying to solve right now, which to me speaks about 2 important elements. One, we're not going to build the solution for any of this. Technologies are evolving. When we're talking about this in 2020, generative AI didn't exist. So they were looking at AI technologies that we don't pay much attention to anymore because we're all focused on generative AI right now. And yet some good solutions were already available and built at the time. So on one side, it's about doing our homework and figuring out what others have done already, rather than thinking, yes, I had the bright idea, let me start from scratch and waste my time, rather than building on work that was already done. So it's these 2 elements. It's not a critique. We need to find out new things. If we're still focusing on these things, it's because they are important. But yeah, let's collaborate more. Let's talk more. There are a lot of amazing resources, not only on the Journalism AI website, because I worked on that project. There are many more outlets to look at that. Podcasts, newsletters, these type of conversation as we're having right now. I know we are all working in journalism busy and with little time to do our homework and so on. And yet, I think if we do our homework more, we're going to save time throughout the process in ways that are still going to be beneficial. So I wish there was a way to build, the final repository of all AI journalism knowledge and make it easily accessible to everybody. That's probably more utopic than anything else. But as long as until we arrive at that, there is a lot available. Let's look for it and talk more with each other.
This is the perfect message for the end of the interview. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you.
You watched another episode of Impactful. Thank you, and see you next week.